4:50. Okay. Well, it's 4:50. Councillors will open the 2024 AGM. Item 2 on the agenda is record of attendance. Apologies and leave of absence. All councillors are in attendance. Thank you, councillors. Item 3 is confirmation of the minutes. Recommendation is the minutes of the annual general meeting of West Coast Council held at the council chambers on Tuesday the 12th of December 2023, a copy which has been previously circulated to councillors prior to the meeting be confirmed as true and accurate record. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Butterfield. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 4 is presentation of the annual report and public submissions. The recommendation is that council receive and note the West Coast Annual Report 2023-24 and the public submissions as presented. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Hamer, seconded Councillor McKay. Any discussions on that, councillors?
Just a point really for noting my councillor attendance, which is page 12. I sent this information to the General Manager just to say that I had been incorrectly recorded. The last financial year I came to all 12 meetings of council. So,
thanks, councillor.
Yep.
I'd just like to note, Mayor, again how proud I am of the landfill and the wetlands project. That's contained in page 51, and it just highlights what a great facility that is, and very proud to be a councillor of West Coast Council with that project.
Thank you, councillor. And yes, just furthermore to that, people are probably aware that we did receive a Legat, an award for that, not for small councils, right across all councils in Tasmania. So great work by all involved in that project. Thank you, councillor. Any other discussions, councillor? If not, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 5 on the agenda is close of the AGM. Time being 4:53. Thank you. That's a quick one. We'll wait now till 5 o'clock. Did I say 5:53? Okay, hopefully I said 4:53.
After with the turn off.
Sorry?
Do you want to turn it off for 5?
Yeah. Okay, councillors, 5 o'clock, we'll open the meeting. In accordance with local government meeting procedures and regulations 2015, public is advised that the proceedings of the meeting council will be recorded on digital media to assist in the preparation of minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussions of the meeting is available. West Coast Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather today and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 401 of the agenda is record of attendance, apologies and leave of absence. All councillors are in attendance. Thank you, councillors. Item 402, financial interest. This time of the meeting, if any councillor has a financial interest in any item on the agenda, may declare that now or before discussions on that item. Item 403 is confirmation of the minutes. Recommendation is the minutes of the ordinary meeting of West Coast Council held at the council chambers Tuesday the 26th of November, a copy of which, having been previously circulated to councillors prior to the meeting, be confirmed as true and accurate record. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Ivanicki, seconded Councillor Jordan. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 404 is public participation and question times. This is part of the meeting. Any members of the public may ask a question, but the question may not be debated. But if there is a person in the public who would like to ask a question, please give your name and address before asking the question. Any questions from the public?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Do I have to stand or anything? Or?
No, mate, you can just...
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, my name's Sean Idle, live at Latham Street. Now, I sent Shane a video of Dr. Shirley Sladden, who's a councillor of the West Tamar Council. She's jumped on board with Paul Edlin and Sajina now as well, with Russell Broadbent, the federal MP for, I think it's Monash, to put a halt to the mRNA jabs for Pfizer and Moderna because they found DNA contamination in the vials. It's up to 146 times more than the TGA allows, right? So there's potential harm there. So they just want to put a hold on the jab until further investigation, until they look right into the procedure. You know, and Russell Broadbent's asking for all local councils to jump on board with him. So I wonder if you have even seen the videos that I've sent to Shane, and if you've even seen the Port Edlin one, which I asked them to send to you as well. Have you even looked at them?
So in reply, I can say that I have seen the Port Hedland video, and I did forward that on to councillors.
Yeah.
Did discuss it at a workshop. Whether
are you going to jump on board with Russell Broadbent and West Tamar and Sajina and Port Edlin so they can have a proper investigation into these things? Because there's potential harm. You know, there's a lot of the leading oncologist, Professor Angus Dalgleish from Oxford University and Australia. He operates here in Australia too. And he's seen a lot of cancers coming up over in England since that rolled out.
Yep.
You know, so he said you can't draw a correlation, you can't pin it to that, but there might be something there, you know what I mean? So it calls for further investigation because it only took 9 months to make, mate. So it hasn't gone through the proper safety records, proper safety procedures anyway, because they can take up to 10 years, right? So that's why there should be a proper look into these things before they roll them out.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Mr. Idle will take that one on notice, and we'll discuss that at a workshop whether we want to jump on board with other councillors, West Coast.
Do anyway, because you know if it is harmful, that's devastating.
Yep.
You know?
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Alderman.
no worries. Thanks for
Okay.
your answer anyway.
No worries, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. Keep moving.
Apologies, Mayor.
Sorry.
We've got another question.
We have got another question from, in writing. Question without notice. Would council please take over control of Beach Street Strawn? Council was very generous when they sold the original caravan park to private owners. However, they included the condition that a fence should be built along the boundary of the north-south road section. Present owners have removed the fence, creating, in my opinion, potential dangers given that Beach Street is a shared pathway allowing access by vehicles and pedestrians over such a wide area seems unacceptable.
Through you, Mayor, I spoke to Mr Giles yesterday evening. He confirmed that it looks like now that they are starting to build the fence, we'll go out on site and have a look, but it may be that this is resolved, and if not, we'll respond to Mr Giles directly.
Thank you, General Manager. Okay, item 405 is council raise issues and information. We have no questions on notice. Questions without notice. Councillors, we have one question without notice. Councillor Jordan.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. Could council please have an update on floor replacement and disability access to the toilets work at the Queenstown Basketball Stadium? I understand funds are obtained by junior basketball through a federal grant for 30k and council contribution of 60k. There's no senior roster in town now, as they are waiting on works to be completed before committing to a roster. Currently, kids are travelling outside the region for basketball. Have plans been finalised along with a contractor sort and estimated timeline for completion, please?
Through you, Mayor. We've had significant delays on this project through the building designer. We have now got, the building designer has provided the designs to the hydraulic designer for final tick off. Just to be clear, the floors aren't being replaced in this project, but they're being stripped back and recoated. In terms of the funding, we got $378,357 from the state government. Junior basketball contributed the $30,000 you mentioned, and council's contributing $45,000, and that's on top of $49,647 council spent on backboards. We haven't got a contractor yet. We need that tick off from the hydraulic designer, but that is the next step, is to go to tender. We've had discussions with the state government around extending the funding so that we're able to complete it, given the delays out of control to a degree. So they've extended the deed through to December 2025. There is no indication at all that it will take that long, but we just put in a lot of wriggle room there so that we don't lose the funding and so that asset can be upgraded. We are continuing to work with junior basketball and keep them involved. It's been really disappointing for us that we haven't been able to move this project ahead faster. Yeah, I think that's all the answers I have. So I'm happy to continue providing updates to council, but hopefully once we can get this final tick off, we can move very fast, because we've been waiting for those designs. Everything else can be delivered quite quickly.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. Any other questions without notice? Councillor McKay.
Can the intersection on the Strawn Esplanade and S Street at the Strawn Village reception area be investigated for remarking and traffic management? An area has been hot mixed over existing lines, and the changes made previously to the angle parking has created a confusing road navigation for users.
Through you, Mayor, if I can pass to Aaron.
Yeah, we can definitely look at that. I can see where the lines have been got mixed over, as you mentioned. I think road design best practice has changed a little bit in that hold lines aren't typically placed on incoming intersections, but probably needs better delineation because it's really wide road area there where people are doing U-turns and things like that. So I think it warrants, as you've said, probably a traffic impact assessment on how to best manage it.
Previously, Aaron, it wasn't such an issue because the parking went further along.
Okay.
But now that there's the blank area, it's created such a large blank area that people just get confused.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Councillor Mackay?
I will ask, and I will continue to ask, on updates on the following known issues in our community: the water supply to the Strawn Playground water feature, the Harvey Street dip damage, and the Esplanade turn area remediation, please.
Yeah, there's a few components to the water supply. We've got confirmation from Taswater they're doing their part of the works. We've got a special cage which is now fabricated and ready to go. We're meeting the local Taswater reps on site next week with our plumber to finalise the plumbing arrangement, and then it'll be connected. It's hoping to be connected for Christmas. With regards to Harvey Street, we contacted State Road, highlighted the issue to them. We've escalated it
To the Secretary and the Deputy Secretary, and waiting a response from them. And I've highlighted and used the words from our last council meeting around the risk to public safety and the possibility of a fatality.
with regard to the Esplanade turn area, we've started, we've done the drainage works in there, so works have commenced. We're currently just doing earthworks and filling it up to level. So hoping that we can have it gravelled and available for sort of use over the weekend, and then we'll do the final seal in the new year.
I will hold you to those dates.
Thanks, Aaron. Would there be a chance of that information on the Taswater? If you could send me an email, I can distribute that on Mayor on Air tomorrow, because I did get a question last week, I think it was. Thank you. Any other questions without notice, councillors? No. There's no motions without notice. Motions on notice. Councillor Hamer?
I've had several residents from Strawn come and tell me about the Water Tower Hill. I don't know whether the rest of you know that it is a tourist spot. Great view, used to be a really great view. But look, the Water Tower Hill and our filtration water tower has overgrown. We're in bushfire season at the beginning of it, but I'd like to investigate all fire hazards around the West Coast water filtration plants and reduce the fire risk, and all the assets to receive an abatement notice to the fire risks and have them reduced or removed by whoever is responsible. Just one last thing, rationale. In a bushfire, the first thing we lose is our power and then our water. I just think this is something we can do now to protect that asset, for your consideration, councillors.
So move councillor Hamer. We've got a seconder for that. Councillor Graham. Thank you. Open for discussion now, councillor. So thank you, councillor Hamer, for putting this motion forward. And yes, and it is imperative, and I guess they're not council assets, but we need to advocate for the owners of them assets to mitigate their fire risks around them. And General Manager, you got anything else to add to that?
Through you, Mayor, Taswater owns the land on which they're occupied. Our team has done initial inspections on the water towers around. At the moment, they do not meet the criteria for abatement on fire, but we'll continue to keep them in our inspection regime.
Yep.
To ensure that's the case.
Yeah, sorry, I don't believe it's really an abatement issue. It's the trees have grown up that much. It's not the low-lying grass that's the problem. It's the trees growing all the way around it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So our abatement talks about, fuel load underneath the canopy. We're talking about the canopy itself, and certainly where it's blocking the view of the harbour. So it is a very busy tourist spot up there at that little picnic table, which is what we're talking about. And now what's happening is we've created a public safety issue because they're all standing up on on the picnic table to get the photo. So we actually have a public safety issue as well as a fire safety issue, and it's the public safety issue that we can go some further to address, I believe.
Through you, Mayor, potentially I could write to, or council could write to
Yeah.
TasWater, just
Yeah.
making them aware of the risk and asking them to take action to mitigate it.
I think that's appropriate
Yeah.
action we should take, right to Samuel and ask him if he can get it investigated. That'd be great. Okay, so we're happy if we write to TasWater regarding their assets to mitigate not only the fire risk but also the public risk with safety risk with them trees around them assets. Okay, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Councillor Hamer, you have another motion.
Could I withdraw that until I obtain further information and come back to council in the new year? Okay,
Yeah, that's okay.
thank you.
No problems. Okay, there's no other motions on notice. Item 406 is Mayor and Councillors' diaries and communicate.
Sorry to step in, just through you, as we were speaking, we got an update from State Growth on the Harvey Street Road. They have logged it as a call for their contractor to ascend their site and assess. They've also provided a 24/7 call centre number for us to be able to utilise for similar issues. So that's a good resolution.
Thank you.
Can I get that number and I will put a sign on that post? No, you're right, I'm not
Yeah,
kidding.
very
Yeah,
good, very good.
And they can ring it, the people at Storm will ring it every 15 minutes.
Good. Thank you, Councillor. Item 406, Mayor and Councillors' diaries and communications. For noting that Council resolved that the Mayor's and Councillors' diaries and communication as presented be noted. Any discussions on any of them items, councillors? No? Item 407 is council workshops. Council resolved to note the following workshop were conducted by council since the last ordinary meeting. So today we had a briefing on the organisational update, a briefing from Bluestone Mines on their Rentals project, discussion on the Murchison Community Plan, and for noting that is, so any discussion on any of that, councillors? No? Okay. Item 408 is council's decision status report and action item list. Council resolved that the status report action item of open council meeting decisions be received. Any discussions on any of that, councillors? No discussions, we'll keep moving. Item 409 is committees of councils. Council resolved that the council committee report as presented be noted. We have no council reports, committee reports. Item 410 is the general manager report. The general manager report as presented be noted. Someone like to move that way, please, for discussion. Move Councillor Stringer, second Councillor Hamer. Open for discussions, councillors. Any discussions on the general manager's report? Yes, Councillor Mackay.
Page 29, the grants table. Thank you for laying it out like that. It made it very easy to navigate through. So thank you to the staff for that. On page 30, the income statement. The notes are coming back to the income statement, which are greatly appreciated from councillors in making them more clear. Page 33, with the rates, I just wanted to ask a question. As we removed the early payment discount, has that affected how rates have been paid? Are they coming in slower than normal, or is it still about the same, just in regards to cash flow?
Through Mayor, in terms of cash flow, it's probably pretty much the same. I think people do tend to prefer to pay in instalments, so that, because the discount, while it's there, it's not that significant that a lot of people are making use of it. So, no, cash flow is probably about what we'd expect.
Thank you. And one last question, page 36, with all our finances by department. There's some red and green coding through it. I was just unsure what the red and green coding related to.
Through your mayor, so normally red means it's over budget and green means it's under budget. Or
Right.
on budget, so.
Because there's not a lot of it, it's just scattered.
Yeah, and so there's probably like a variation there of say greater or less than 5%.
Right.
So it's signaling.
So it's indicating
Yeah.
that. Beautiful. Thank you. Oh. And I do have one more, sorry.
Councillor, don't be sorry.
Page 75. Noted that planning and building applications are down from the previous year. Do we have any detail to this? Is it cost of living or external factors, or is it hard to get those DAs in? Have we got a read on it,
Through
basically?
you, Mayor. I'm just looking at the numbers. So previous, they're probably down a slight amount, but I will say at the moment, we currently have probably close to 15 DAs that we have received that are on what we call stock log. So they're still waiting to be processed due to either requiring further information from the client, or they've been referred to the EPA, or
Right.
different things like that. I do acknowledge though that this year it has been slightly lower to previous years. I can't really explain why. I don't know. There hasn't really been a downturn in industry applications. They're still pretty consistent. The cost of living may be affecting, the odd shed build or house extension, that kind of thing. But in previous years, we did have those large developments through Homes Tas and Anglicare that were quite big developments that sort of came over a 2 to 3 year period, and now that they've sort of completed that, that's not reflecting in our figures anymore because they're done and dusted, so that could be another reason why.
Thank you.
No worries.
Councillor
Yeah,
Green.
that was the last question. Getting back to that table, I think it was page 30, the FAG grant. Can I ask why the FAG grant wasn't listed in there? 29 here. Yeah, page 29.
Page 29.
So the one grant that is absent from that list is the FAG grant. Is that because it was paid the year before? Or is it because we don't know what it's likely to be end of year?
Through you, Mayor, we might look into that. I know our accountant was working on FAG numbers earlier this week, so it might be with the change in state budget, it's been pushed out. I can come back to you with some more detail about what that might be.
And it's confusing because we've probably already been paid it this period. Yeah, anyway, it will potentially make a difference to the,
Yeah,
to the
absolutely
calculation
will
at the
do.
bottom of that list.
Yeah.
Somewhat. I mean,
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Ivanicki.
On page 21, I noticed that you have recruited the pool staff again for the season, and I'm hoping that Matt is returning. He's a great asset, and many of the people I work with talk about him. I did wonder if that staffing will cover the possibility that Zian will need staffing, so will those staff be able to be used to staff the Zian pool?
Through you, Matt, yes, Matt is back, which is fantastic. He's a great benefit to the West Coast Council. We didn't publicly recruit this year for pool attendance because we actually got a number of applications in sufficient to cover the season, and I expect they will be sufficient to cover the Zian pool as well when it opens.
Excellent. And that leads into my second question there, which was about the Zian pool. In the CapEx update on page 74, it's still got that February timeline for completion. and I'm wondering if we're still intending to open this season and, as I've already asked, have the staff for such a season. Yeah.
Through you, Mayor, yes, we're still very keen to try and open as early as we can for the new season. Aaron, no further updates?
No further updates, we're tracking well, so our intentions are to stick to that date.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor, no? Okay. No other questions, councillors? Righto, we'll keep moving in. Item 4.11 is outstanding advocacy correspondence. For noting, the council resolves to note the outstanding advocacy correspondence as presented. Any discussions on any of that, councillors? No?
I'll just say, Mayor, thank you for the letter to Parks and Wildlife, and it was a good explanation on the details that I'd requested, so thank you.
Yes, I think some of their reply was a little bit, we take no responsibility, it's all councils, but but it was good to get that in their eyes, in their face, and especially around the Hogarth Falls.
Through you, Mayor, I've had 2 subsequent conversations with my counterpart as a result of that letter, and we're continuing to work particularly on the long-term solution for Macquarie Heads, but also around the split of our responsibilities across some of these sites.
Very good, thank you. Item 4.12 is correspondence. The council resolved that the correspondence, both incoming and outgoing as presented, be noted. Any discussions on any of the correspondence, councillors? Just with regard to the flying doctor service, so we had a meeting with the Premier in Burnie with CCA with regard to the airports, Devonport and Burnie Airport. During them discussions, I mentioned about the Strawn Airport and upgrades that were required for flying doctor service, and he has agreed that he'll also give us a letter of support to the federal government with regard to some funding for that airport, so, which is a good outcome there as well. So we'll I'm just waiting on his northern advisor to reach out with regard to that. Okay, no other discussions on the correspondence, councillors? No. Item 4.13 is proposed council meeting and workshop dates for 2025. The recommendation is that Council A endorse the attached council workshop, council meeting and annual general meeting scheduled for 2025, which is Appendix 1, and B, determine the monthly council meeting start time, C, determine the annual general meeting start time, and D, determine the monthly workshop start and finish times, noting that some flexibility may be required with workshop start times depending on priority discussions, agenda items and guest speakers. Someone like to move for discussions, councillor? Is it moved Councillor Ivanicky, seconded Councillor Mackay. Open for discussions, councillors.
Can I just say I like the idea of splitting up the workshops. The timing really works for me. And while I understand there's got to be some flexibility, I'd really highly like to encourage external presenters to work with our schedule. You know, it's always disappointing when they want to drive in and drive out on the same day. So I'd have flexibility to a point for workshops, but yeah, external presenters, they really do need to work in with our schedule, whatever we decide they will be.
Noted, councillor. Yep. And I guess, yes, it is one of them things that some of these people are, I guess, in working time as well, so we need to take that into account also. Any other discussions, councillors?
Only if I may, through you, Mayor, just take into consideration that during the winter times, yeah, it's going to be dark and pretty ordinary by the time 7:30 comes around for your second meeting, but if there's some flexibility we could relook at as time goes on, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, that's just more for comment, maybe in the interim, if it doesn't work, you know, we could relook at it.
So having,
So it says here you're going to have your second workshop is proposed to run from 5:30 PM to 7:30 PM
okay.
occasionally.
Yep.
But yeah, could we have that flexibility as winter progresses?
Or something, I guess we could look at whether, you know, if the weather is inclement.
I don't know, Lindsay's got to travel.
As councillor Hamer says, I think it's a good consideration, but for workshops, we don't have to be in person, do we?
No,
So if needed and we were elsewhere or the weather was poor, we could Teams or call in to workshops?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can
and I
see.
think that was, through you, Mayor, that was part of the discussion, is potentially with that second workshop, it may be something that people could do online rather than necessarily coming in.
Lovely, thank you.
Requirement.
Well, that goes with the presenters as well, doesn't it? So-
exactly, yeah. Okay, councillor, there was discussion throughout the year about looking at holding council meetings outside, back in other communities as well. Or is there any appetite for that? I know there's a fair bit of impost on staff as well.
Mayor,
I see the value of the live stream as well, which would be difficult
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, we
area.
wouldn't be able to have live streaming elsewhere, that's the only thing. Sorry.
So I would tend to the chambers for the meeting.
Yep.
Purely because of that.
That's fine. I was just making sure that there was comment made throughout the year, but and that was discussed about, we'd have to lose live stream if we moved council meetings elsewhere.
Maybe workshops in the middle week, middle fortnight could be some scheduled in different areas.
Well, if there's a topic of that area that we may move the workshop to that location just to discuss that topic. Okay. Righto. Okay, council, we'll put that to a vote then. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 4.14 is youth worksheet feedback. Recommendation is the council respond to the students, thanking them for their participation. A, thanking them for their participation. B, providing information on current and proposed works relating to responses. C, advising where it is outside council scope and provide alternatives. And D, advising what action council may be able to take. Someone like to move that way for discussions, councillor? Moves councillor Hamer, seconded councillor Butterfield. Open for discussion, councillors.
I'd just like to say I thought it was really good to read them after the work that we've put towards trying to get youth involved in council and interested in local government. So some of the suggestions were pretty good, and some of them had a common theme. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was good, and it was good to be able to see what the students had done towards council and some of these suggestions.
Thanks, councillor. I guess from my point of view, yeah, it was good to see that they've put this out, but it would have been good for these people, these children, given that we did have a good response from the Strawn Primary School to come on board and be part of that youth council, because some of these things they've talked about here, they could have really had a lot of teeth in the game. Probably could have got a lot of them actioned through council. I guess that's something we could probably report back to school, that, you know, it's good that we got these comments, but that's what the Youth Advisory Council was all about, to bring them a little bit along for the journey as well. And yeah, there was some, I guess, probably some disappointing students down at Strawn Primary School that would have loved to be on that council. So yeah, maybe hopefully next year we might be able to continue that journey and get some buy-in from the other schools. And happy to go and talk to the students on a one-on-one with regard to from a councillor's perspective or the mayor's perspective, to try and entice them to be part of it?
Through you, Mayor, I think this is part of the success of the responses to
Yeah.
this, was it was a very easy standalone thing that the school could fit into the curriculum without too much disruption and didn't require ongoing work, which with the workload on teachers can be quite challenging. Our plan is to do a couple more of these events, as
Yeah.
you say, potentially have yourself and other counsellors come and do an hour session with students, talk about some things, similar worksheets to build then to building that interest to get people involved in the Youth Advisory Council on an ongoing basis. So that's still our end point. We're just trying to find ways to build that interest and engagement without an ongoing impost on the schools and the students involved.
I thought it was really, really wonderful to see the kids. The one thing you get from kids is brutal honesty. And you need that, don't you? It's
do,
encouraging as a counsellor.
No,
But, you know, this one I was just reading that tickled me a bit was, where was it?
KFC?
Yeah. Upgrade the Strawn football field, put in a decent basketball court in Strawn and a KFC. All it needs is builders and we're underway. Get the money and pay people. I love it, you know.
Lovely.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll put that to a vote. If there's no other discussion, council will put to a vote. All those in favour? Against, carried. Okay. Item 4.15 is matters proposed for a closed meeting. Council, and those items being items 4.17, 24 to 4.26, 24 discussed by council in closed session. Someone like to move that way, please? Move councillor Graham, seconded councillor Newman. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against, carried. Item 4.16, closed meeting. Council resolved by absolute majority to go into closed session to consider the following matters which are listed there, time being 5:37. Someone like to move that way, please? Move councillor Jordan, seconded councillor Stringer. Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you very much for your attendance.